How would you reduce crime and increase public safety in the city of San Bernardino if adding new police was not an option?
Well, I think it's sort of a false choice because I think we can add police. I think once we audit Measure Z and we really understand how much money we have, where the money's going, then we need to step back and really look at, over the next couple of years, how do we step up law enforcement to provide the safe environment we need to rebuild our downtown. Until our downtown's safe, we will not have the opportunity to attract the new jobs that we need and to provide the type of community that we want. So we do need to look at how we begin addressing the issue of the criminal element that's coming into our city. The other issue is we have the passage of what's called AB 109, which is the early release of convicted felons because of overcrowding in our prisons. What people don't really understand about San Bernardino is that for decades, San Bernardino was basically a dumping ground for criminals. What would happen is some of the surrounding cities and counties would send their criminals to San Bernardino courts to be convicted. They'd go to prison, and when they were released, they wouldn't go back to the city where they committed the crime, they'd go back to the city where they were convicted, which is what? San Bernardino. So for years, we were receiving an influx of convicted felons that were released from prison, and when they come here, they stay here. And we provided an ideal community for individuals that had broken the law and who engaged in criminal activities. And so over the years, that creates a whole array of problems and issues that have snowballed over the years, and we're still dealing with it. And so, people say, well, why can't we be like this city, or why can't we be like this city? Well, it's comparing apples and oranges. How we got to where we are today it's very dangerous to start comparing ourselves with other cities. So we do need to step up law enforcement, at least over the short term. And this was done in other parts of the country. I've lived back east in New York for years, had a very serious problem with crime and an unsafe downtown. And over a period of time, they stepped up law enforcement. They cleaned up their city. They finally got public safety to the point where they could start pulling back on some of those investments on law enforcement they made. But it did make it a safer city. Businesses and people moved back to the city. It was safe. People, Manhattan's one of the most, highest priced real estate in the world. But there was a time where there were some real serious problems. And we need to have a similar approach in San Bernardino.
If we were to add more police, how do you feel about the idea of adding policemen that are from our city?
Well, here's the issue with that, and I understand where you're going with that. You say, well, if we're paying you all this money to be a police officer, and they do get paid a good salary, and they should. They put their lives on the line every day. It's a job I wouldn't want. I don't think I could be a police officer. Think about this. You're a police officer in the city of San Bernardino. Okay, you arrest, insert name of individual here. You have your kids that go to school here in San Bernardino. You go to the grocery store here in San Bernardino. Would you feel safe? Knowing that you're a police officer in this city too, a city that has one of the highest crime rates in the western United States. Would you feel safe being a police officer in this city and having your family here, living here, having a house here, your address here, where people know where you live? I wouldn't. Absolutely not. When it comes to police, as far as I'm concerned, I can completely understand why they might want to live miles and miles and miles away from San Bernardino. It's for their own safety, the safety of their own families, their own lives. You know, people, you know, when you're arrested, you don't forget the name of the officer who arrested you. And believe me, your family doesn't either. So police officers, it's a tremendous amount of service that they provide. And until you've come to know an officer and their family and what they go through, it's not an easy life. It's a very scary life. Not only do you wonder if, you know, your dad, your mom, your husband, your wife is going to come back at the end of the day, but you know that they've arrested people that are bad people that would like nothing more than to hurt that officer, hurt that family of that officer. So certainly I don't think police officers, we can talk about fire too, you know, I guess to a lesser degree, fire, you know, they're usually seen as heroes, they usually help people, and so, you know, maybe we could argue that maybe we need more firefighters living in the city, but certainly when it comes to police now, I think it's absolutely essential that we give them the ability and the flexibility, because it's absolutely necessary for the safety of themselves and their families. They have the ability to live where they need to live, away from this city, so that they don't have to worry about whether or not their lives will be put in danger.